Hey everybody! I'm here today to talk to you about a wristwatch that is not keeping time properly. I'll be going over the easiest fixes to try first so that hopefully you can get your wristwatch working once again. Now, if your wristwatch is either not keeping time properly, like it's not keeping up with time, or if it's not keeping time at all, this is the video for you because I'm going to help you either way. Hopefully one of these 6 steps will help you out. Let's get into this. We're going to go through these quickly. So pay attention, take notes, try them out with your own watch, and hopefully one of them works. Number one, the first thing that you want to do is replace the battery if it is a quartz watch. This is, and by quartz I mean a battery powered watch. This has a quartz movement, so it is a battery powered watch. Hence also why it is such a thin watch. You'll rarely find an automatic watch that is this thin, okay? Because of its thin design, it basically needs to be a quartz watch. Okay, now what I would do if this wasn't keeping time properly is I would replace the battery even if the battery was fairly new, because sometimes just replacing the battery works wonders in terms of putting a new battery in there. You might give it the juice that it needs, or the contacts might just not be working properly with the battery that you have in there. So replace the battery. It's easy to do, and if you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, then just bring it into a watch shop. It's inexpensive. If that doesn't work, you're going to move on to number 2, which is the same thing but for an automatic watch, and that is to wind it up. Automatic watches don't use batteries. Watches with automatic movements don't use batteries. They use a winding mechanism. Now, generally speaking, if you're wearing them on your wrist and you're moving your wrist around throughout the day, that should be enough to power them throughout the day. However, and then at night you can let them sit, or there's even winding mechanisms that will constantly keep them moving so that they sort of never die. But if you have an automatic watch, literally there's a winding mechanism. Just pull the crown out, wind it up, give it some extra juice, try that out. If that doesn't help you, I'll move on to step number 3, or fix number 3, which is to do a very brief, very quick cleaning. Okay, so literally the best way to quickly clean a watch is to essentially remove the backing of the watch. However that happens, whether you have to pop it off, twist it off, or whether there's screws. And then you want to get just a little bit of air and get that sort of fresh air into the watch with a little bit of force. Now, most watch kits will come with a little squeeze pumper, which is designed to just sort of blow out any dust. So hopefully you have your hands on one of those. I wouldn't necessarily recommend blowing into a watch because you might get your saliva in there. If you really want to, you can blow into it, but I would recommend making sure that your mouth is sort of as dry as possible, and maybe even putting like a screen of some sort in front of your mouth that will block the saliva, and then it'll only let the air through. But do just a very brief cleaning of the watch. Very quick and brief cleaning. Don't take it apart or anything, just a quick cleaning. If that doesn't work, move on to step number 4, which is to look for an obstruction in the crown stem. So right here is the crown of the watch, and then over here is the crown stem. I'm going to try and pull this out. My nails are kind of short, and I bite my nails sometimes, and I just finished biting these nails, but hey, I can still get my fingers in there. So essentially, that little gap right there is the crown stem. You can see that little piece sticking out. This is the crown, the piece at the top, and the little piece inside of it is the crown stem. Look for an obstruction there, because when you pull it out, it stops the watch from ticking. So if you can't push it back in, you can't start the watch ticking again, okay? So look for an obstruction in the crown stem. That brings me to number 5. If 4 doesn't work for you, move on to number 5, which is pull the crown out and push it back in. Sometimes the crown just isn't pushed in enough, so pull it out like that, and then just give it a nice firm boom like that. Push it back in. You should feel the click as it goes back in, okay? Very simple and straightforward. Push the crown back in firmly. Sorry, I always film in this location. It's basically close to my work, and there's a house. It's literally like a side street of a side street. It's filled with businesses. One business repairs, it looks like school buses, because there's all school buses over here, and there's a guy that lives here that always comes out when I'm filming. This older man, and he literally just always walks to the edge of his driveway, which is 10 feet to this side, and he just stares at me like, what are you doing in that car 3 mornings a week? Essentially, I drop my daughter off at daycare, and I have a little bit of time before I start work, so I film a couple videos in that time slot. After I drop her off at daycare and before I end up at work. And he always comes out, and he was just staring at me now. Sorry, just hilarious. I totally get it. He's probably like in his 80s, and he's like, what the heck is this guy doing in front of my house? He's going to protect his mansion. He's going to protect his house. He's going to protect his castle. So I would do the same thing. It's just funny being on this side compared to that side, on both sides of the party. All right, anyways, so like I said, pull the crown out, push it back in is number 5. Lastly is number 6, which is to move the watch around and listen for any loose pieces. Now, watches are essentially filled with lots of small, tiny little parts, okay, that all move together. If one of those parts falls off, the watch is going to stop. If one of those parts is loose, the watch is not going to work and it's not going to keep time. So literally, hold the bands of the watch, okay, and shake it around and listen for any jingling sounds. If you hear a jingling sound within the watch's case, then there's a good chance that something is loose or something has been moved, something fell out, something broke off, and that's what's causing the problem. So then you can take the backing off and you can look for that part and or maybe bring it to a professional. Because I change my watch batteries. I have, I think 18 watches at this time. No, like I said, I don't have, at the time of me filming this, I don't have any Rolexes, Omegas, nothing like that. You know, IWC's, International Watch Company, I think it's called. I don't have any of those. They're all, like sub $300 for the most part, but I have quite a few watches. I change all of the batteries. Now, do I plan on getting a Rolex? Yes, I do. I'm not going to reveal, but maybe by the time this video is released, I might have one. I'm not sure. So if you see me posting a video that I have a Rolex, several weeks ago or months ago, and then you see this, the reason is because I filmed this before I got it. Okay. So anyways, but I do all of my watch batteries myself, but I wouldn't start taking apart the movement pieces of a watch. That's just beyond what I would normally do, especially with an expensive watch. I wouldn't do that. So bring it to professional, but at least you'll know what the problem is. That's it. If your wristwatch is not keeping time properly, or not keeping time at all, completely whatsoever, these are the easiest fixes to try first. Hopefully one of them works for you. If you like this video tutorial, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment, and of course be sure to subscribe for more great videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.